Jake Morrison stared at the alien structure through the thick glass of his helmet. The thing was huge, bigger than any building he had ever seen on Earth. It looked like a giant metal flower with thousands of sharp petals reaching toward the purple sky of this dead world. "Ben, are you getting readings on this thing?" Jake asked into his radio. Ben Rodriguez was kneeling next to a small device that beeped softly. "Yeah, boss. This structure is old, really old, maybe millions of years, but it still has power running through it." Jake looked around at his small team. Lisa Carter was taking pictures with her camera, while Amy Walsh checked her communication equipment. They had been on this mission for 18 months now, traveling from one dead planet to another. Their job was simple: look for signs of old alien life and report back to Earth. "Amy, can you reach the ship?" Jake asked. "Yes, sir. The Titan's edge is still in orbit. Everything looks good up there." Jake nodded. They had found many dead worlds on this trip, but nothing like this structure. Most of the planets they visited had only ruins and dust. This place was different. The structure still worked. "Lisa, what do you think this thing was used for?" Lisa Carter lowered her camera and looked at the structure. She was the smartest person Jake knew when it came to alien technology. "Hard to say, Jake, but look at those panels on the sides. They look like they were made to send signals across long distances. Maybe it was some kind of communication device." Ben stood up and brushed dust off his suit. "Or maybe it was a weapon. Look at the way it points up at space." Jake felt a chill run down his back. A weapon that could still work after millions of years was not something he wanted to think about. But they were scientists, and their job was to learn about these things. "Ben, can you connect your equipment to it? Maybe we can learn what it does without turning it on." Ben picked up his device and walked toward the structure. "I can try. But Jake, if this thing is still powered, connecting to it might wake it up. Just be careful. If anything looks dangerous, we back away fast." Ben nodded and pulled out several cables from his device. He found what looked like connection points on the structure and carefully attached the cables. For a moment, nothing happened. Then his device started beeping very fast. "Jake, this thing is connected to other structures, lots of them, all across this part of the galaxy." "What do you mean connected?" "I mean they talk to each other, like a giant network." And Jake ... Ben's voice got quiet. "Something woke them up a few months ago. Something big." Before Jake could ask what Ben meant, the structure began to glow. The metal petals started to move, opening and closing like a real flower. A deep humming sound filled the air around them. "Everyone back to the ship now," Jake shouted. They ran as fast as they could in the low gravity of the planet. Behind them, the structure was getting brighter and brighter. More humming sounds came from other directions. Jake looked around and saw other structures in the distance lighting up too. They reached their small landing craft and jumped inside. Lisa started the engines while Amy tried to contact their main ship in orbit. Ben was still looking at his device, his face pale. "Jake, you need to see this," Ben said as they lifted off from the planet's surface. "What is it?" "The network detected something heading toward Earth about 4 months ago. Something really big." All the structures turned on and started tracking. Jake felt his heart stop. "Are you saying something was heading for Earth 4 months ago, and we're just finding out now?" "Yes. And Jake, the network shows that whatever it was, it reached Earth 2 months ago." Jake grabbed the radio. "Amy, try to contact Earth right now." Amy worked at her controls for several minutes. "I'm not getting anything, Jake. No response from Earth. No response from the moon bases. No response from Mars. Try the outer colonies. Try Titan Station." Amy tried again. Nothing. Complete radio silence from the entire Sol system. Jake felt sick. He looked out the window at the alien structures still glowing on the planet below. Lisa, set course for Earth. Maximum speed. Jake, that will take us 3 months if we push the engines hard. And it might damage the ship. I don't care. We need to get home now. The next 3 months were the longest of Jake's life. They pushed their ship harder than it was meant to go. The engines made strange noises, and the hull shook constantly. But it held together. Amy tried to contact Earth every day. Every day, she got nothing but silence. Ben spent his time studying the data from the alien network. What he found made him more and more worried. The network had tracked something huge moving toward Earth, something bigger than any ship humans had ever built. Lisa kept the ship running and tried to keep everyone's spirits up. But Jake could see the fear in her eyes too. When they finally reached the edge of the Sol system, Jake knew something was terribly wrong. There were no ships, no radio signals, no signs of the busy space traffic that should have been around Earth. "Take us toward Earth," Jake said quietly as they got closer. Jake saw something that made him want to scream. Where Earth should have been, there was only a field of rocks and debris. The beautiful blue planet he had called home was gone. Completely gone. The moon was broken into large pieces floating in space. Mars looked burned and empty. The space stations that should have been around the planets were nowhere to be seen. "Oh my God," Amy whispered. "What happened here?" Jake couldn't speak. He just stared at the rocks that had once been his home. 7 billion people had lived on Earth. His parents, his friends, all gone. "Jake, I'm picking up a signal," Amy said. "It's very weak, but it's definitely human." "Where?" "It's coming from near where Earth used to be. It's an automated beacon." Jake found his voice. "Get us to that beacon." They found the beacon floating alone in the debris field. It was small and looked like it had been damaged. Ben carefully brought it aboard their ship. The beacon contained a message from Earth's government. A woman's voice spoke from the device. "If you are hearing this, then you know what has happened to Earth. We were attacked by something called the hegemony. They destroyed our world and everyone on it. But we were not completely unprepared. Hidden in this beacon are the locations of 17 secret colonies we built over the past 100 years. Find them, unite them, survive. Remember us? This is President Helen Cross, signing off." Jake sat in silence for a long time after the message ended. Earth was gone. Everyone he had ever known was dead. But somewhere out there, other humans were still alive. He looked at his small crew. Lisa, Ben, and Amy were all looking at him. Waiting for orders. "Amy, decode those colony locations. Lisa, plot courses to each one. Ben, see what else this beacon can tell us." "What are we going to do, Jake?" Lisa asked. Jake stared out at the debris that had been Earth. "We're going to find every human still alive. And then we're going to make someone pay for this." 6 months had passed since Jake Morrison found the ruins of Earth. His small ship had grown into a small fleet of 12 vessels. Each ship carried survivors who had escaped the destruction or had been living in the hidden colonies that President Cross had mentioned in her final message. Jake stood on the bridge of his new flagship, the Liberty. Through the large windows, he could see the planet New Geneva spinning slowly below them. This was the 4th colony world they had visited, and so far the largest. "Sir, Director Paul Chun is requesting permission to come aboard," Amy Walsh said. From her communication station. She had become Jake's chief communications officer for the growing fleet. Let him come up. "And Amy, ask Ben and Lisa to join us in the meeting room." Jake walked to the meeting room and sat down at the metal table. He was tired. Finding and convincing the colony worlds to work together was harder than fighting aliens would be. Each colony had its own leaders, its own ideas about what humans should do next. Ben Rodriguez entered the room first, followed by Lisa Carter. Both of them looked as tired as Jake felt. Behind them came Director Paul Chun, a tall man with gray hair and serious eyes. "Director Chun, welcome aboard," Jake said, standing up to shake the man's hand. "Admiral Morrison," Chun replied. The colonies had started calling Jake an admiral, even though he had never asked for the title. "I've been thinking about your proposal to unite all the human colonies under one command." Jake sat back down. "And what do you think?" Chun sat across from him. "My people are scared, Admiral. They've been hiding on New Geneva for 30 years. They came here to live in peace, not to fight wars. Director, with respect, we don't have a choice. The hegemony destroyed Earth. They'll find the colonies eventually. We can either fight together or die separately." Chun nodded slowly. "I understand that, but my people have been working on something that might help. Dr. Susan Martinez, would you please join us?" A woman with dark hair and kind eyes entered the room. She carried a small device in her hands. "Admiral Morrison, I'm Dr. Martinez. I run the Medical Research Division here on New Geneva." "Doctor, nice to meet you. What can you tell me?" Dr. Martinez placed the device on the table. "We've been working on human enhancement for 20 years. The colonists here can now survive in space for short periods without suits. We can handle radiation that would kill normal humans. We heal faster and are stronger than people from Earth were." Jake looked at the device. "How does it work?" "We use a combination of genetic therapy and nanotechnology. It takes about 6 months to complete the process, but the results are amazing. A person who goes through our treatment becomes much harder to kill." Ben leaned forward. "Are there any side effects?" "Some. The person needs more food. They have trouble sleeping sometimes. But overall, the benefits are much greater than the problems." Jake looked at Director Chun. "How many of your people have had this treatment?" "All of them. About 50,000 people." "Admiral, if you're serious about fighting the hegemony, you'll need soldiers who can survive things that would kill normal humans." Jake nodded. "This could be very useful." "Director, if New Geneva joins our alliance, will you share this technology with the other colonies?" "Yes, but I want something in return." "What?" "When this war is over, I want your promise that New Geneva will be left alone. My people just want to live in peace." Jake thought about this. "I can promise that. But Director, if we lose this war, there won't be any colonies left to worry about." Chun was quiet for a moment. Then he nodded. "You're right. New Geneva will join your alliance." Jake felt relieved. New Geneva was the largest colony so far, and their medical technology would help all humans survive the coming war. Over the next 2 weeks, Jake's fleet moved to Fortress Prime, a military colony built inside a large asteroid. Colonel Rick Taylor met them at the docking bay. He was a short, strong man with scars on his face and hands. "Admiral Morrison, welcome to Fortress Prime. I've been expecting you." Jake followed the colonel through the metal corridors of the asteroid. "Base, Colonel, what can you tell me about your colony?" "We have about 20,000 people here, all military families. We've been preparing for war since we arrived here 15 years ago." They entered a large room filled with weapons and equipment. A woman with red hair was working on what looked like a new type of gun. "Admiral, this is Karen White, our chief weapons designer." Karen looked up from her work. "Admiral Morrison, I've heard a lot about you. Would you like to see what we've been working on?" She picked up the gun she had been working on. "This weapon learns from each shot. If it hits armor, it changes the next shot to go through that type of armor better. If it misses, it adjusts its aim system." Jake took the weapon and looked at it. It was lighter than he expected. How many of these do you have? We can make about 100 per week. But Admiral, weapons are not our only specialty. Karen led them to another room where several people were working on what looked like spaceship parts. We've been designing new types of ships, ships that can repair themselves, ships that can change their armor based on what's shooting at them, ships that can hide from almost any scanner. Jake was impressed. How long would it take to build these ships? Colonel Taylor answered, That depends on how many raw materials we can get. And how many workers? What do you need? Mining equipment. Lots of it. And people who know how to use it. Jake smiled. I think I know where we can get both. The next stop was Titan's Rest, a mining colony built around a dying star. Danny Lewis met Jake's shuttle as it landed on the main platform. He was a big man, with dirty clothes and a friendly smile. Admiral Morrison, heard you were coming. Welcome to the hardest working colony in human space. Jake looked around at the huge mining equipment and the thousands of workers moving materials. Mr. Lewis, this is incredible. Call me Danny, and you haven't seen anything yet. Danny led Jake to an observation deck that looked out over the mining operation. Huge machines were tearing apart asteroids and processing the materials into metal sheets and other construction materials. Danny, how much can you produce? Right now, we can build about 2 large spaceships per month. But if we had more workers and better equipment, we could probably build 10 ships per month. A woman with short black hair joined them on the observation deck. Admiral, I'm Lisa Stone, Safety Coordinator. Danny's being modest. With the right resources, we could build 20 ships per month. Jake was amazed. What would you need? Danny thought for a moment. More mining equipment, more transport ships to move materials, and more people. We have about 30,000 workers now, but we could use twice that many. If I can get you what you need, will Titan's Rest join our alliance? Danny and Lisa looked at each other. Then Danny nodded. Admiral, we've been waiting for someone like you. Someone with a plan to hit back at the aliens who destroyed Earth. Count us in. Jake felt hope growing in his chest. New Geneva could make super soldiers. Fortress Prime could make amazing weapons and ships. Titan's Rest could build them faster than anyone thought possible, but there were still 13 more colonies to visit. And Jake knew that not all of them would be eager to join a war against the most powerful force in the galaxy dot as his fleet. Left Titan's Rest, Jake stood on the bridge of the Liberty and looked at the stars. Somewhere out there, the hegemony was still destroying worlds and killing entire species. But now humans had something they didn't have before. They had hope, and they had a plan. Jake picked up the communication device. Amy, send a message to all colonies we haven't visited yet. Tell them Admiral Morrison is coming, and he has an offer they need to hear. 2 years had passed since Jake Morrison started gathering the human colonies. Now he stood in the command center of the massive space station Unity, watching hundreds of human ships move through space like a deadly swarm. The station floated in the middle of empty space, far from any star system where the hegemony might find them. Admiral, we have reports from all 17 colonies, Amy Walsh said from her communication station. The fleet now has over 3,000 ships. Jake nodded. 3,000 ships sounded like a lot, but he knew the hegemony controlled hundreds of star systems. They probably had 1 million ships or more. But human ships were different now. They were better. What's the status on the enhancement program? Jake asked. Dr. Susan Martinez looked up from her medical station. We now have over 200,000 ENHANCED humans across all colonies. The process is working better than we hoped. Our soldiers can survive in space, heal from terrible wounds, and fight for days without rest. Jake walked to the center of the command room where a large table showed a map of the galaxy. Red dots marked hegemony territory. Blue dots marked human colonies. The red dots covered most of the map. Ben, show me the new ship designs. Ben Rodriguez activated a hologram above the table. A sleek warship appeared, rotating slowly so everyone could see it. We call it the Revenge class, Ben said. It uses technology from all 17 colonies. The hull can repair itself using nanotechnology from New Geneva. The weapons adapt to enemy defenses using systems from Fortress Prime, and we can build them fast using methods from Titan's Rest. Jake studied the ship design. It looked deadly and beautiful at the same time. How many do we have? 500 completed, with more being built every day. But Admiral, we also have something else. Ben changed the hologram to show a different ship. This one was smaller, but covered in strange devices. This is a stealth scout ship. It can become invisible to almost any scanner. We've been using them to spy on hegemony forces. What have we learned? Commander Terry Scott stepped forward. He was Jake's new military advisor, a man who had spent years studying alien warfare tactics. Admiral, the hegemony follows the same pattern everywhere. They send scout ships first, then a small attack force, then a massive fleet to destroy everything. They're predictable. Jake looked at the map again. Where are they now? Terry pointed to several red dots near the edge of human space. They're moving toward the Meridian sector. Intelligence suggests they're planning to attack the Kepler system next week. How many ships? About 200. A medium-sized battle. Grouped by their standards. Jake felt his heart speed up. This was it. Their first real chance to hit back at the aliens who had destroyed Earth. Terry, what do you think? Can we take them? Terry was quiet for a moment. Yes, but we'll need to. Use every advantage we have. Our ships are better, our soldiers are enhanced, and we know they're coming. Jake looked around the command center at his team. Amy at communications, then at engineering, Dr. Martinez at medical, and Terry at military planning. These people had become his family over the past 2 years. All right, everyone. This is what we've been preparing for. Amy, send orders to all colonies. I want every available ship at the Meridian rendezvous point in 3 days. Over the next 3 days, Jake watched as the largest human fleet in history gathered in the Meridian Nebula. The nebula was a perfect place for an ambush. The gas clouds would hide their ships until the last moment. Karen White had come from Fortress, primed to personally oversee the weapon systems. She stood next to Jake on the bridge of his new flagship, the Earthborn. Admiral, all ships are reporting ready. The new adaptive weapons are working perfectly. Jake looked out at the nebula. Somewhere in those gas clouds, over 1,000 human ships were waiting. Enhanced human soldiers filled every ship, ready to fight with abilities that normal humans never had. Admiral, I'm detecting hegemony ships approaching, Amy reported. Long-range scanners show 200 vessels, just like Terry predicted. Jake felt calm for the first time in 2 years. Signal all ships. Attack pattern Alpha. Let's show the hegemony what humans can do. The battle began when the first hegemony scout ships entered the nebula. Human stealth ships appeared out of nowhere and destroyed the scouts before they could send a warning. But the main hegemony fleet kept coming. When the alien battle group reached the center of the nebula, Jake gave the order. All ships attack now. 1,000 human ships burst out of the gas clouds at once. The hegemony fleet was completely surprised. They had never seen human ships before and didn't know what to expect. The alien ships were larger and more heavily armed than the human vessels. But the human ships were faster and smarter. When hegemony weapons hit them, the ships learned how to resist those weapons better. When human weapons hit alien armor, they adapted to cut through it more easily. Enhanced human soldiers boarded alien ships at incredible speed. They could survive in the vacuum of space and fight in conditions that would kill normal humans. The hegemony soldiers had never faced anything like them. The battle lasted only 2 hours. When it was over, the entire hegemony battle group was destroyed. Not a single alien ship escaped. Jake stood on the bridge of the Earthborn, looking at the wreckage floating in space. They had won their first major battle against the hegemony. But he knew this was just the beginning. Casualties? He asked. Surprisingly light, Dr. Martinez reported. 37 ships damaged, but the self-repair systems are already fixing them. Only 200 casualties, and most of those will heal completely thanks to the enhancements. Jake nodded. The human fleet had proven it could fight the hegemony and win. But they had only faced a small part of the alien empire. Terry, what do you think the hegemony will do now? Terry looked at the tactical display. They'll be confused at first. No one has ever destroyed one of their battle groups completely. They'll probably send a larger force to investigate. How much larger? Maybe 1,000 ships, possibly more. Jake felt a chill. 1,000 hegemony ships would be a much bigger challenge than 200. But they had proven that humans could fight these aliens and win. All right, everyone. We've won our first battle, but the war is just beginning. The hegemony knows about us now. They'll come looking for us with everything they have. Jake looked around at his team. These people had helped him turn a handful of survivors into a fighting force that could challenge the most powerful empire in the galaxy. Amy, send a message to all colonies. Tell them we won. Tell them the hegemony can be beaten. And tell them to prepare for the real war. Jake walked to the large window and looked out at the human fleet. In 2 years, they had gone from a few refugee ships to a force that could destroy a hegemony battle group. But somewhere out there, the aliens were already planning their response. Jake knew that the next battle would be much harder. The hegemony would send their best ships and their most experienced commanders. They would not be surprised again. But humans had something the hegemony didn't understand. They had the memory of Earth burning in space. They had the faces of 7 billion dead people driving them forward. And they had the unbreakable will to make someone pay for what had been done to their home. The war for humanity's survival had begun, and Jake Morrison intended to win it. 5 years after Earth died, Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his flagship Freedom's Price, watching the largest fleet in human history prepare for the final battle. Through the windows, he could see thousands of human ships stretching across the space where Earth used to be. The asteroid field that had once been his home world now served as humanity's battlefield. Admiral, long-range sensors are detecting the hegemony fleet, Amy Walsh reported from her station. They're coming out of hyperspace now. Jake had been waiting for this moment for 5 years. The hegemony had finally sent their grand fleet, the same massive force that had destroyed Earth. Intelligence reports said it contained over 10,000 ships and had never lost a battle in 50 million years. How many ships do we count? Jake asked. 12,000, sir, just like our spies reported. Jake nodded. The human fleet had grown to 5,000 ships, each one more advanced than anything Earth had ever built. But they were still outnumbered, more than 2 to 1. Ben, are all the hidden platforms ready? Jake asked. Ben Rodriguez looked up from his engineering station. Yes, sir. We have 3,000 automated defense platforms hidden throughout the asteroid field. They're completely invisible until they start shooting. For 2 years, human engineers had been preparing this trap. They had built weapons platforms and hidden them inside asteroids that looked like ordinary space rocks. The hegemony would think they were fighting 5,000 human ships. They would actually be fighting 8,000. Dr. Martinez, how are our special volunteers doing? Jake asked. Dr. Martinez was monitoring the medical station. All 50 volunteers are ready for quantum linkage. They know the risks, Admiral. If they stay connected to the ship computers too long, they might not be able to disconnect. Jake felt sad about this part of the plan. The volunteers would link their minds directly to the ship's computers, creating a human-machine intelligence. That could think faster than any alien artificial intelligence. But the process was dangerous. Some of the volunteers might die. And Karen's new weapons? The singularity bombs are ready, Ben reported. We have 20 of them hidden in fake asteroids. They can collapse a star system if we need them to. Jake hoped they wouldn't need to use those weapons. Singularity bombs could destroy everything in a star system, including human ships. But if the hegemony looked like they might escape to attack human colonies, Jake was prepared to destroy the entire Sol system to stop them. Admiral, the hegemony fleet is entering the system, Amy reported. They're broadcasting a message. Let's hear it. A deep alien voice filled the bridge. The words were translated by the ship's computer. Humans of the scattered colonies, you have become a pest that requires elimination. We are the Dominion, rulers of the hegemony. We destroyed your birth world, and we will destroy you. Surrender now, and we will kill you quickly. Jake picked up the communication device. This is Admiral Jake Morrison of the Human Defense Fleet. We don't surrender. We don't run. And we don't forget. You destroyed our home and killed our people. Today, you pay for that. The alien voice responded. Admiral Morrison, we have heard of you. You are the one who destroyed our battle groups. You have been lucky. But luck ends today. We have more ships than you can count. Maybe, but we have something you don't understand. We have something to fight for. Jake cut the communication and turned to his crew. All right, everyone. This is it. Amy, signal all ships. Tell them to remember Earth. Tell them to remember the 7 billion people who died here. Tell them to make the hegemony pay. The battle began when the first hegemony ships entered the asteroid field. Jake had positioned his fleet to look smaller than it really was. The aliens thought they were facing a desperate last stand by a few thousand human ships. All ships, execute battle plan Omega, Jake ordered. The human fleet scattered in all directions, making it look like they were running away in panic. The hegemony ships followed, spreading out to chase them. This was exactly what Jake wanted. When the alien ships were spread throughout the asteroid field, Jake gave the second order. Activate all hidden platforms. Begin quantum linkage procedures. 3,000 weapon platforms suddenly appeared from inside fake asteroids. They began firing at the surprised hegemony ships from point-blank range. At the same time, 50 human volunteers linked their minds to their ship's computers, creating hybrid intelligences that could think and react faster than any alien commander. The battle became chaos. Hegemony ships found themselves surrounded by enemies they couldn't see coming. Human ships moved with impossible precision, their quantum-linked pilots dodging weapons that should have been impossible to avoid. Enhanced human soldiers boarded alien vessels throughout the fleet. They could survive in hard vacuum and fight in conditions that would kill normal humans. The hegemony had never faced soldiers like these, but the aliens were not helpless. Their ships were larger and more heavily armed than human vessels. They began to adapt to human tactics, and the battle became more even. Admiral, we're losing ships, Amy reported. The hegemony is starting to organize their counterattack. Jake watched the tactical display. The human fleet was taking heavy losses. They were fighting bravely, but the aliens had more ships and more experience. Time to end this, Jake said. Amy, give me fleet-wide communication. You're on, sir. Jake spoke to every human ship in the fleet. All ships, this is Admiral Morrison. We've hurt them badly, but they're still fighting. It's time to show them what happens when you mess with humanity. All ships with quantum-linked pilots, follow me. We're going straight for their command ship. Jake's ship, the Freedom's Price, led a charge of 200 human vessels directly toward the center of the hegemony fleet. The quantum-linked pilots guided their ships through the alien formation at incredible speed, dodging weapons fire that should have destroyed them. The hegemony command ship was a massive vessel, 10 times larger than Jake's flagship. But size didn't matter when you had weapons that could adapt to any defense. Take us right to their command deck, Jake ordered. Ben, prepare the boarding pods. Sir, that's suicide. Their command ship has thousands of soldiers. Maybe, but we have something they don't. We have enhanced soldiers who can't be killed easily, and we have a reason to fight. Jake led the boarding party himself. 20 enhanced human soldiers followed him as they cut through the alien ship's hull and fought their way to the control center. The hegemony soldiers were tough, but they had never faced humans who could heal from terrible wounds and keep fighting. Jake found the Dominion commander on the bridge of his ship. The alien was huge, with 4 arms and skin like metal. He was stronger than any human, but Jake had been enhanced too. They fought hand to hand in the middle of the alien bridge, while the Alien battle raged around them. The Dominion commander was skilled and powerful, but Jake fought with the fury of a man who had lost everything. When Jake finally defeated the alien commander, he spoke into his radio. All human ships, this is Admiral Morrison. The Dominion commander is dead. Demand their surrender now. The hegemony fleet stopped fighting. Without their commander, they didn't know what to do. They had never lost a battle before. Admiral, they're requesting terms of surrender, Amy reported. Jake looked around at the wreckage of the battle. Hundreds of human ships had been destroyed, but they had won. The hegemony Grand Fleet was defeated. Tell them the terms are simple. They leave human space forever. They never attack another human colony. And they tell every species in the galaxy that humanity is not to be messed with. Jake walked to the window of the alien command ship and looked out at the ruins of the Sol system. Earth was gone forever. 7 billion people were still dead. But humanity had survived, and they had made the hegemony pay. Amy, send a message to all human colonies. Tell them we won. Tell them Earth has been avenged. And tell them that humanity's future among the stars begins now. Jake thought about President Cross's final message. She had asked the survivors to remember Earth. They had done more than that. They had made sure that no one would ever forget what happened when you tried to destroy humanity. Earth was gone. But humanity had come back for revenge. And they had won.